Keemstar read a tiny bit of an article and he decided to go with his knee-jerk reaction, which was incorrect, and in doing so, he actually ended up endorsing a crime. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, hello, hi, hola, welcome. I'm Kez. These are my unicorns. Together, what does that make? It makes kezandunicorns. Magic. Today's well, kind of like most of my unicorns are here today, but we're gonna feature Candy Floss today.
I'm a unicorn!
Because she's beautiful. And snaps to anyone that goes into the comment section and guesses correctly which anime character this wig belongs to. Go. Okay, so despite that, we're kind of talking about something pretty serious today. I took to live actually about this, so you may or may not have seen it. I will add a card if you haven't and you want to see it for context. Basically, we're talking about Keemstar being yay. I was on Twitter and I saw a tweet by Keemstar and it said that he stood corrected by Twitter and kissing a girl's hand is rape.
What?
Or sexual assault.
Seriously, what?
And I did respond to this and I said that's disgusting to me. Like, it completely takes away from the gravitas of what it's actually like to be sexually assaulted. And as someone who has been sexually assaulted and raped, it didn't sit right with me. However, I was a big dumbass because I have this thing on Twitter, I'm trying to get better at it, but I have this thing where I don't actually research stuff. I just see a tweet and respond. And obviously you kind of lose some of the meaning and context behind it. I saw a video of him, it was about 2 minutes long, and he was talking about the situation, and I watched it, and I was furious because his tweet completely took away the actual point and led me, a rape and sexual assault survivor, yeah, something like that, I think. I was furious because I was just like, how? If you want to see my live reaction to the video, it'll be up here, but we're not doing that today. What I want to do is talk a bit more about what happened and the problem with it.
Good job!
With the Black Lives Matter movement picking up and, you know, just people trying to be a lot more understanding of minority groups and trying to really go for equal rights. We've seen that, you know, people are pointing out content from a long time ago. Now, I've done a separate video on that, so I don't know. So recently I saw a tweet by Ready to Glare and it said I was 5. The tweet's on the screen right now. And she'd retweeted this thread. And I was going through it and I noticed it was women and they were saying I was this age, and it wasn't hard to figure out that that thread was the first time that I was sexually assaulted. And I replied with this tweet. I have dissociative amnesia, and it wasn't until recently that I remembered and understood things that had happened to me when I was younger. My mum committed suicide when I was 15. She tried twice before. And it was very traumatic, and so I have a lot of memories of around that time that I don't fully remember. But a couple of years ago, I was raped, and suddenly a lot of stuff started coming back. It's a whole big thing. And a lot of people have been speaking out about this recently. With regards to the Me Too movement, I personally don't really agree with it because I think...
Just to be very clear on this, when I say I don't really agree with the Me Too movement, I don't mean that I don't agree with it. I think we should be able to come forward and say that we have been sexually assaulted or raped, and we should believe the people that come forward to say that. We should always investigate thoroughly, and the last thing that we should be doing is trying to victim shame or victim blame, which shorthand is what this entire video is about. So I just want to make that clear, because looking back on it now, editing it, it sounds a bit like I'm saying I don't agree with the Me Too movement, but I do, and I do agree that more people need to be able to come forward. So when I say I disagree with it, what I mean is I don't agree with the amount of people that have tried to come forward and openly lie and literally use the hashtag #MeToo as a weapon to get revenge on someone they don't like, or someone that has wronged them but not in that way, or just someone whose life they want to destroy, or in many cases to get attention, to see how much power they can yield over someone else when they create a trial by media. It is already so difficult to get justice as a rape or sexual assault survivor. So the more people that come forward and fake it and cry rape for attention or for revenge just makes it even harder. That's what I mean. Classically Abby has done a video talking about her view on the Me Too movement, and I will be reacting and responding to that video very, very soon. So keep an eye out for that. Don't forget to, subscribe and turn the bell on so that you know when I drop that video. But for now, let's go back to the Keemstar problem with pastel Kez. Thanks.
Too many people are coming up with they're faking it. I saw someone, like a unknown Twitter account was created, and someone said, I met Harry Styles and he sexually assaulted me or raped me in 2016, and they put a picture and they cut out the face of the girl, guessing they wanted it to be them, but they wanted to remain anonymous. And people found out in 2 seconds that that picture was of Harry and a friend of his, or someone that he was friends with, from a completely different year. And so it was very much like, this is disgusting, because every time a person cries rape or Me Too's when it's not appropriate, it just adds to the problem for actual people who have been raped and sexually assaulted. As I'm sure you know, rape, sexual assault, it's already really, really, really hard to actually get justice, I guess, because it's often a he said, she said. A lot of people don't go directly to the police. I didn't go directly to the police. I didn't even say anything about it until 2 weeks after it happened. And I've had friends that, have had experiences and they haven't pressed charges because they're too scared that they'll end up getting roasted by the media and the guy will get off, or it just, nothing will happen.
One thing that I didn't say in this is that I was actually told by the police that if I was to pursue legal charges against the guy that raped me a couple of years ago, I would probably be dragged by the media, by social media, in the courtroom. I would probably likely not be believed, and that with my mental health being the way it is, they just wouldn't advise it.
And so it's already really difficult for people that have been through that to actually get closure and be able to kind of deal with it. So then cue Keemstar, and why more people are not talking about this. I am disgusted. When it comes to someone with a platform the size of Keemstar's, and he decides to say that a woman, so the video is this. 2 streamers were living together, a guy and a girl. They each had their own bedrooms. They were not in a relationship. The girl goes to her bedroom, gets into bed and goes to sleep. The guy gets drunk, then he sneaks into the girl's bedroom, gets into her bed and starts doing sexual things to her while she's asleep. Keemstar's big brain response is,
it was her responsibility to say no.
It was a girl who was asleep in her own bed, in her own house. It was her responsibility to wake up and tell the guy, no.
Stop it. Get some help.
To me, that is so fucked up and so disgusting. I don't even know. I've been sitting on this after I did my live, and I still don't really know how to properly talk about how disgusting I think it is. Why
are we still here?
Number one, it was not her responsibility. I'm sorry, but a woman in her own home, in her own bedroom, in her own bed, should not have to expect someone that she trusts to come into her bed and start doing sexual things to her. Like that, I don't know how that logic even makes sense in his head. I really don't. But the fact that he has the platform he does and no one is talking about him victim blaming a woman who was in her own home, him telling her it's her own fault for not saying no, no, that's not how it works. It was not her responsibility to say no. It was his responsibility to, one, not be a giant piece of turd, and two, to get consent. If anyone is asleep, it is your responsibility to not start doing stuff to them when they are asleep. Like, what? Like, seriously? No. It's the same line that says, you dressed provocatively, so you're asking to be raped. I mean, it's that, to me, it's that line of thinking. Like, does Keemstar, a man with such a giant platform, really believe that it is okay to tell a victim of sexual assault that it was their responsibility to say no? By that same logic, I could apply it to this scenario. Someone is out in a bar having drinks with friends. They meet another person. This person roofies them. The person who has been roofied passes out. The arsehole, we'll just say that, the arsehole says, oh, I'm gonna make sure they get home safe, takes them home and then puts them into bed and then rapes them, and it's the victim's fault, the one who's been roofied, the one who is passed out because they've been drugged. They didn't say no. Can we? Obviously, I am aware that I'm going to have a bias towards this because I have been a victim of sexual assault and rape, but I just don't understand it. And one of the things that actually upsets me almost as much as his big brain, misogynistic, asshole, human being thing is the fact that I haven't seen anyone else talk about it. How does no one care that we are providing platforms to people who think it's acceptable in this day and age to continue victim blaming? It is never the victim's fault, ever. No human being should ever have to expect to be sexually assaulted. People get scared. There is fight, flight, freeze. A lot of people freeze up. People are often told, I remember being told, if someone who can easily overpower you,
I'm 4'11", I'm a tiny human being.
If someone tries to attack you, rape you, whatever, let them. Because if you fight it, you're more likely to end up severely injured or dead. And this girl, she wasn't even out, and this wasn't even a stranger that did it. She should not have had to expect that to happen to her ever. And for her to wake up and then freeze because she doesn't know what to do is absolutely probably what a lot of us would do. When I was raped, I resisted and resisted as much as I could, and then it got to the point where I couldn't because I was forced. So to say that if a woman freezes up out of fear, then it's not rape, even though they haven't consented. I think there was a really great example of this going around. It was years ago, but I'm sure it's still going around, about how they compared it to a cup of tea. Like, you might ask someone, hey, do you want a cup of tea? And they might say yes. So you make them a cup of tea. And then by the time you've got them the tea, they might say, actually, I've changed my mind, I don't want it. You're not going to force them to have that cup of tea if they've changed their mind. Secondly, if by the time you get them the cup of tea, they've fallen asleep, you're not going to just open their mouth and pour a cup of tea down their throat. So even if a woman or a man or anyone, even if they kind of say, yeah, I'm up for it, as soon as they say I'm not, it's rape. Equally, if a guy sneaks in and doesn't even get consent, and he knows that that person is asleep, that's rape. I'm sorry, I'm going to call it what it is. And it's not acceptable, and it's not okay. And it's not okay that we are giving these kinds of people platforms where millions of people have seen that video on Twitter, a 2-minute video where he blames the victim. And that doesn't include, he does podcasts, he does YouTube. The amount of people that listen to Keemstar, that watch Keemstar, that follow Keemstar, to the younger people that might follow him, this is setting a really bad example because the message is completely wrong. And I don't know how, in the world that we live in right now, I don't know how we can just sit by and watch while this man basically tells millions of people that it's only rape if the person says no, because that's backwards thinking. It's rape unless the victim consents, in which case they're not a victim.
But why am I having to literally define what rape is in this day and age? Someone please tell me why I need to do this.
I can understand potentially him being annoyed by the fact that a lot of people, the Me Too movement has created a platform for a lot of people to get
revenge
on people. So they've been lying, and I think that is disgusting. I think it's disgusting to lie about it. And I can understand if he was friends with the guy, I could maybe understand that he feels that if you know the two of them and it happened, I could understand you potentially being a bit like, but you live together and you're friends and you're gonna say he raped you. Like, I can kind of get that, but he hadn't even read the entire article before he jumped on his phone onto his Twitter for millions of people and said,
it's her fault for not saying no. I don't care that she was asleep. I don't care that she was in her own bed, in her own home. It was her responsibility to say no.
No, it wasn't Keemstar. And if you, Keemstar, don't get that, you need to get an education so that you understand that you are thinking completely backwards. And people like Keemstar have platforms, and young kids could hear that and think that as long as someone doesn't say no, it's fine, even if you're completely pushing them to do it and they're scared for their life. So they say no, but then they just you keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. If you coerce someone or if you keep pushing and eventually they give up, that's still rape because they said no in the first place and you are pushing. We need to stop giving platforms to people that are sending damaging messages. Yeah, I agree that people need to stop lying about it, but victim blaming is never the answer. And this, not only was it hurtful to every victim of sexual assault and rape out there, but it showed how messed up some people in our society still think. And we can't forget or negate the power someone with a platform his size has, the reach he has. Basically, okay, the issue is Keemstar read a tiny bit of an article and he decided to go with his knee-jerk reaction. And in doing so, he actually ended up endorsing a crime. People with platforms, like, we need to hold these people accountable for what they're doing. And I know that to many people, they just, because of who Keemstar is, because he's an entertainer, I think people don't stop to think about the bigger message. They just see, oh, Keemstar's annoyed because he's read like a little bit of an article and he's going off on one. But it's more serious than that, especially in this context. People with platforms, they can't create an argument against someone. For example, if you want to say someone's a bad person, and then they do a 3-hour live stream, but you only watch 10 minutes of it, and decide from that 10 minutes that you've got all the information you need, like, that's ridiculous, because you don't, and you clearly don't, and you know you don't. And in this case, it's not even just defamatory or just a little bit wrong. He is literally endorsing a crime. He is literally on the wrong side of it. And with the state of the world at the moment, and with so many people coming out with their stories about how they have been victims, I think it's something that needs, these creators with these big platforms need to start understanding the power that they have. To them, I can imagine it's very easy to just be like, oh my god, I'm pissed off. Right, guys, like, this has happened. Like, I get it, but at the same time, when it's something like this, it makes Keemstar look really bad. So it's not just the message that he's sending out. For people without a platform, if someone came up to them and said that their friend raped them, that person could be like, nah, I don't believe you. And then later on try and get the actual information. But when you have a platform the size that Keemstar does, or any big YouTuber or public figure has, you don't get to do that. You don't get to just knee-jerk react and be like, no, this isn't rape, because he just kissed her on the hand, or he just kissed her, when the story is no, he went into her bed when she was asleep and did sexual things to her without her consent. And I don't think Keemstar fully understands or understood how damaging that perspective was in this case. The thing about it is, I'm not trying to say that he thinks rape is okay. I'm not saying that. But I think in this instance, he messed up. And I think he needs to own that, and I think he needs to make it very clear that he understands that he messed up. Instead of then, he did the video, then he did the tweet, like, oh, right, okay, so kissing someone on the hand is sexual assault. You're not listening, Keemstar. You're not listening to the people telling you, actually, this is what I get from this article. This is why it's problematic. As a public figure, yes, you get to be you, and you do get to share your thoughts and opinions and perspectives with a wide group of people, but you also need to listen, especially when it's about serious topics. If you're supporters or followers, or even people that don't follow you but they see it trending, or their friend sends it to them or whatever, you need to understand, you need to be willing to listen to what other people are saying to you, and to then hold your hands up and say, I'm sorry, I went off a knee-jerk reaction and it was wrong. But he didn't do that. He then decided to say he was wrong in a very sarcastic tweet. And that's kind of the problem here.
I don't know him, you know, I know this one thing of his existence. And from that, you know, I have a bad opinion of him because of the fact that even if he didn't intend to, he took something very serious out of context.
Yeah, I think one of the problems that we have here is
The more you know.
So yeah, guys, I know this was heavy. If you have watched it, thank you. If you stuck with me and watched it, thank you for listening. I think, you know, I'm not going to always do really serious videos like this, but in this instance, I felt like it was necessary. I feel like, and I keep saying this in my videos, but I feel like these people that have these giant platforms, sometimes, yeah, if Keemstar makes a mistake like this one, it's really damaging. If someone with 100 followers on Twitter did this, yeah, it would still be wrong, but it would only reach a few people, or we can assume it would only reach a few people. But when someone like Keemstar does this, it's gonna reach millions. And there is the fact that he took it so out of context to say kissing someone's hand, it implies that, you know, in my head, when I first read that tweet, I assumed, you know, someone had gone up to someone in public or at an event and kissed them, like, hi, give them a kiss, and then that person's me tooing them, which is why I was angry, because I was like, that's not okay to call that rape or sexual assault. But actually, the story is a woman was in her own home, in her own bedroom, in her own bed, asleep, and he got into her bed and started touching her sexually. They are two massively different things, and I think that needs to be understood, and I think people that have these giant platforms need to understand that when they do something like that, it's really problematic, really damaging. And for him to then refuse to listen, it just, as someone that has the experiences that I have, it's just not, it's not something that I can just sit by and let it happen, because it's just not right. I'm not saying he deserves to like lose everything, like I'm not saying that, I'm just saying he needs to understand the damage that he has potentially caused here and the hurt that he has caused. And I think that's the main issue here. So that's that. Anyway, thank you if you have stuck with me and listened to this. I feel really strongly about it, and I needed to, as I said, I needed to talk about it. So that's what we're doing. Do let me know your thoughts down below. Just share it in a respectful way so we can actually have a conversation about it. I always make an effort to reply to all of my comments. So I know that there are a lot of people that think that people can't always be accountable for everything, and I'm also a person that understands that a lot of things are triggering to a lot of people, so there is always a chance that you're going to trigger someone with what you do. But I feel in this case he was really negligent, and he really has caused a lot more harm than he probably thought he would or intended to. If you want to follow me on social media, I am kezandunicorns on Twitter and Instagram as well, so you can follow me there. If you want to subscribe, do that. Turn on the bell notification so you'll know not only when I drop a new video, but when I go live. I'm trying to do like a regular live stream schedule thing. They do that on Twitch. I don't know if people do that on YouTube, but I'm trying it. So, yeah. Thank you to Candy Floss for being here. Thank you for Chris, the voice that you probably may have heard, but the invisible person sat next to me. Thank you, Chris. You're a dude.
Are you telling me you're finished talking?
Both.
Done and done.
And arigatou gozaimasu. And keep on unicorning, as I always say. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I'm a survivor, I'm gonna make it. Keep on surviving.